Hey everyone, my name is Jasmine Swimmer. I'm the founder of TheHiredd. My background is in a lot of different tech things, but to sum it up, NFTs, and I'm super excited to be here and add value to the space.
Yeah, hey, I'm Galen. I run NFTO. NFTO is it's a community of communities in Toronto. If you're into Web3, NFTs, we do mostly IRL events, but we do have some kind of community discussions online as well. If there's a crypto conference around, we're usually doing an event. So it's not just Toronto anymore. We're doing a worldwide thing over here.
Worldwide, Brampton included.
Brampton included, yes, yes.
Awesome. Kush.
I'm Kush, Nubia. I'm coming from the music space, producer, DJ, also a digital artist, multidisciplinary, I would say. Coming from the traditional Web2 space and looking at doing the digital twinning with music and merch and that kind of thing for artists in Web3.
Thank you so much, Kush. And Quentin, please.
All right, well, greetings, bonjour, wagwan, everyone. I go by the name of Quentin Vassetti, founder of Astro Sankofa Arts Initiatives. And I'm a visual artist, visual storyteller, more specifically. I'm really interested in the digital space as a new public art frontier. And so what we do with Astro Sankofa is we bring physical public artworks into the digital space to preserve them, but also give it extended life. We also look at the Web3 space as a decolonized space. And so we think about the intentionality in the stories that we can tell, honoring indigenous folks of Canada and Africa and the Caribbeans, and giving them space to tell their stories in the Web3 space as they see fit. So we're all about partnerships and also being a part of conferences and presenting our work and speaking about this idea of digital ownership in a new way.
So there's a lot of connection here, I think, between music and the arts. And that's one of the reasons we want to present this as a part of Meta, was that intersection between arts and technology that we hear a lot about.
This is my first generative AI collection. And simply that means using my own specific code and some AI technology. I created some of the art pieces that you see behind me. From the style to the color to the imagery to the hairstyles, all of this is my personal code, and this is the artwork that it created, really focusing on how music and the metaverse and technology kind of intertwine into one. It has received amazing reviews. My artwork prior to that has just been inspired by Afro and Indigenous voices and the lack of representation of both communities in technology. So a lot of my work kind of creates images that are not out there, like, again, a lot of people of color in technology spaces are doing really cool things, so yeah.
And when you say your own code, are you a developer as well?
No, so the great thing about generative AI, your own code can just be your unique wording or description, or it could be down to describing the hair or the color or the eye color, which makes it different from someone else that could just write like someone floating in space versus my distinct code. Yeah.
So we're talking about prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering,
almost.
yeah.
If anyone's familiar with ChatGPT or any of these text generative, the visual generative stuff is coming, and it's coming hard.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're also the founder of BlackGirlNFTs.
Yeah, so BlackGirlNFT has grown to TheHiredd. So we've made a transition. So we started off of really pushing NFTs for young Black and Indigenous girls to learn in the space. And we've grown now to TheHiredd, where we actually teach courses that merge technology and agriculture. So really focusing on like augmented reality, virtual worlds, and all that cool stuff. So we've kind of grown, and it's doing really well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Galen, can you tell us about some of your art?
Yeah, so I come from the music industry, and I am a digital artist, I guess, by hobby now. I didn't bring anything to share that in that way because, you know, I do it for fun. I got a couple like big NFT collections just waiting for the bull run, ready to drop. So nothing to share visually right now. I did want to talk briefly about, since we're on the topic, and as we, continue this conversation, you might see why it's relevant. A company that I'm helping out right now called Surreal.ai. And so just like the prompt engineering that you do with, say, Midjourney or DALL-E or one of those companies, when you do that, the company that runs the AI gets all of the money from all the subscriptions, and then the AI gets influence from other artists all over the internet, right? And I mean, I use those AIs, but I always did kind of feel bad that no money was going back to original artists on the internet that are being used to influence the art that you're making with generative AI. So along comes Surreal. This is a platform that we're taking early signups for artists right now. We'll get you guys in there. When the AI gets influenced by your art, if you want to scroll down actually to the spider diagram, it will actually tell the person that's using the AI which artists were part of that influence, and you could click on their profile, learn more about that, even buy their art on the platform. But just from using the AI and making an image with that art, those artists will get paid as well. So I'm really excited about that. And otherwise, like, I just like to promote artists in our community. So we'll get you guys all in there. I'm excited to talk to artists always, musicians, visual artists, and just help elevate everybody.
Very dope. And thank you for the work you do with the NFTO. I think bringing the community together in Toronto and the surrounding area is really important.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Literally, it's so much fun. Great people.
Yeah. Awesome. Kush, you've got some goodies you wanted to show us.
Yeah, sure.
Where should I start?
You can start at the OpenSea. The Visions from Planet Indigo. It's the latest. It's the latest drop that I did. This is an OpenSea.
So if anyone's not familiar, OpenSea is a platform where NFTs are bought and sold. It's all run through Web3 technologies. It's run on the Ethereum blockchain. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not familiar.
Multi-chain now. They're like, 8 chains or something? Yeah.
Yes. So this project is on Ethereum. This is my first project I did on Ethereum. These are generated images that I used I used Wombo for this. Was one of the tools I used in Photoshop, and to put the actual signature at the bottom, I used a Premiere Pro to do that. So all of my works are a GIF. I do that just because you make sure you have the legitimate piece. The one thing I wanted to point out in this is a music NFT. So if you scroll down a bit, there it is, Honey Killer. So that is an actual music NFT. This piece is a 3D piece, which you can, whoever was to hold this piece, it's like a item that you can put into your meta space. In the future, I hope to do a digital twinning of this. That's where I'm headed with that kind of thing. If you go back one where you see the Honey Killer, right? Yeah, so that's an actual song. So what I'm doing here, this is an AI-generated music video that I created. So if you were to play this, you would see the song is there. The song is also on all Web2 platforms like Spotify and iTunes, YouTube, and that kind of thing. But what I'm trying to do here is bridge the gap between Web2 and Web3, because there's a very big gap between ownership and knowing your ownership on the Web2 and Web3 when it comes to music. So right now I'm just doing collectibles.
What tool did you use to create this?
This was Keatum. It's an AI tool that you can put your pictures in there, you can put prompt, and you can actually make different scenes. So you can cut from scene to scene to scene and then make a complete video like this. This I did some after processing in Premiere Pro, just to do some of the clips that you just saw there, like some of the transitions. But for the most part, this is AI generated.
Incredible. Thank you. Is there any, let's go to the next link here.
Yeah, so this is a metaverse, my metaverse profile. So if anyone's on Spatial, you can feel free to follow me there. But this is a bunch of spaces that I made, and I also made one for the drop that you see there on the far left. So if you go in there, you'll see all the different artworks. You'll see the song playing and posted. You'll see the 3D. So this is where you have to create an avatar to go in to look at that. So yeah.
So I'm walking through the space.
Yep. And so right now, this is planned to be a 3-drop collection. So floor 1 is obviously the first drop, and then I blocked off floor two, so
VIP only in floor 2. Yeah.
there's nothing up there though. So yeah, once I finish that, I'll put some stuff up at the top, and then if you go towards the center, you can see how it's decorated with yeah. Just keep going around. Yeah, right in there. You can see the 3D piece.
Oh yeah.
That's how you do it. There's a wall hang. Just give you an example, and then if you turn right around 180 degrees, you'll see there's the video on the wall. There you go, the music video. So if you had volume on right now, you would hear the song playing. And yeah, there you go.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Very
Thank
dope.
you.
Very dope.
So this platform is called Spatial.
Spatial.io. It's one of many metaverses that are out there. I'm fond of this one because I don't have to wear a headset. I can just go through the web. I'm also interested in Decentraland, looks good. And On Cyber is another one that looks good where I would like to put a presence. And the cool thing about Spatial is that now, as an artist, you can actually brand yourself as an actual avatar. You can actually customize it, make that part of your branding and your whole business approach. And they've introduced digital twinning, so merch. So you'll be able to sell your merch to other people. They can put it on their avatars. Then you can go further and actually give it to them in real life. So that's kind of where I like to go. There's a lot of companies doing that now, where you see like Nike and Puma and different on the fashion sense coming in and giving out that merch. So it's definitely something, as an artist, you want to take a look at.
Amazing. This is overwhelming. If you've never seen something like this, this is
Cool.
This is really cool.
And did you design this space yourself?
This is a custom space, but I did not design it. I got this from Sketch Fab, and so it wasn't too expensive, but it helped fast track. My next step here is to start learning Unity to be able to fully build out custom spaces from the floor up.
Cool. And can we talk about Secure MT Ward as well?
Absolutely. So looking at NFTs and the surge of NFTs and getting people into Web3, I'm also part of what is called Mount Ward Alumni Association, which is an association that helps build up public school in Jamaica. There's many of them. They're all under the Jamaica Association. So there's many other small associations underneath there. The school that we are working on is called Mount Ward Primary School, and so we're driving forward to raise $10,000 for the school. The funds will be broken up into 3 ways: a lunch and breakfast program, a scholarship program, and a Web3 program. We developed a syllabus that was approved by the principal of the school. And so once we raise enough money, we'll have someone go out there to start teaching the Web3 in the way of looking at AI tools, generating art, and having the kids do a pencil drawing, teaching about pencil drawing and all the organics, and then moving them over to something digital, doing a before and after. And then with sustainability, we'll teach the first cohort of children. They'll turn around, teach the next ones. So that's how we keep the sustainability going.
Each one teach one.
Yeah, and then we'll take those additional pictures and put them up as an auction, because we're working with Digicel right now, and they're the people who are looking at giving us the equipment and the data feeds for some tablets. So to keep that data feed going, we'll have to do additional fundraising. So we'll take the children's pictures, put them up on the blockchain, do an auction to hopefully keep that going.
And can you talk about the key NFT?
Yeah, so the key NFT is it is a NFT that's available. If you just scroll up, go over to Manifold, click the Manifold. Yeah, there you go. So this is an NFT key. This is the NFT portion, the Web3 portion of the project. So any of the holders get a tax receipt for this, and it also comes with the utilities. The utilities would be some online training from some of the partners that we've acquired, and we'll be doing some video streaming in Spatial for financial literacy to up that in people and bridge that gap between the Web3 and Web2.
So this number here with ETH, what is that? That's the price.
Yeah,
right?
that's the actual price.
So you've been helping fundraise for MT Ward through the selling of these NFTs?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's it been in terms of the reception of investors?
Well, we've because this is
Or
not
donations rather, maybe not investors.
Yeah, this is not the first I would say, initiative, but it's the first Web3 initiative. So it's taking some time to kind of get people to get educated on Web3 and then building that level of comfort that they can move over to that. So because of that, we gave people three options to donate because we knew it might be somewhat of a challenge to bring people over, especially with some of what we call FUD in the community.
FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah. So we give 3 ways to donate. You could do either fiat, which is direct GoFundMe. You could do Giveth.io, which is a cool way to use crypto and put it towards a donation, and then you get a tax receipt there, but just through crypto only. And then we have the third way, which is purchasing the key.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks.
Quentin, take us on a journey.
God damn.
A tough
First-
act to hot follow.
Man's doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are all doing such amazing stuff.
I would just want to say that this panel, it was curated through a group of partnerships and connections, and everybody here stands with their own merits and their own strengths. So
No, I love
it's
it.
not a comparison at all. I think
No.
the
For
beauty
me,
of-
I'm just like, man, I'm looking forward to collaborating. I'm like, I don't even want to talk. I just want to wrap this up and just be like, all right, let's do this project. Let's do that project. I mean, we're doing cool stuff too. So that's why I'm like, my brain's more like, okay, how do we take the cool stuff that we're doing and amplify the stuff that you guys are doing? So at Asher Sankofa, we are focused on public art specifically. And like I said, Web3, we look at Web3 as the new public art frontier or the new public sphere. And so our initiatives that we're doing in there is literally taking some of the works that we have in real life and bringing it into the public space. Because of the bear run, we kind of taken down certain things in order to rebrand and kind of be more concise with what we want to promote and how we want to promote it. We were on Rarible, Marketplace, and on Foundation. And specifically what we were doing, we were 3D scanning murals. We were 3D scanning different public art installations, and we were minting them in the digital realm. And so this is a way to preserve the work, also create copyright, as currently the copyright law does not protect physical installations. And you can't copyright an idea. And so this is a way to allow artists to have ownership of their creations and then also be able to navigate licensing their work. And so now we've been working with Carfact and SOCAN, and they created a new visual arts copyright agency. And so we've been working with them of navigating how do we get artists paid if their work ends up in commercial spaces. And so we've been using NFTs as a digital receipt. So rather than registering just a title, just to explain the process with Canadian copyright, CIPO, you can only register the name of the item, right? So let's say if I made a Mona Lisa, if I had a painting that was digital and I called it Mona Lisa, all you're registering is a name, Mona Lisa, but you can easily confuse that Mona Lisa that I did digitally for the actual Mona Lisa, and there's no way to say, hey, the Mona Lisa I made is actually different, because when you register the name, you're not also registering the image. So there's a lot of loopholes with the Canadian law around copyright, and so by having it as a digital receipt, as a digital asset in the NFT space, you have the vision, you have the visual representation, but then also you have the stamp date on the blockchain. So again, this is all can be reinforced if you want to create licensings, as we have. We've done a successful licensing campaign with Adidas for Carnival, also with TTC, where we did buses, and we 3D scanned the buses, minted them. And so so those are some of the things that we're doing right now, especially with murals and like temporary installations like vinyls. It gives it life, right? Those things can now exist forever. It doesn't matter if the mural gets taken down or if it gets bombed or whatever, it now exists on the blockchain. And this is allowing the artist to have this permanent piece, a part of the portfolio. And again, like I said, extends life for the artist and possibilities of what they can do with it. And so a part of what Asher Sankofa does is we actually train artists and walk them through those steps. And then the collaborations that they do with us, we create an agreement of being able to have it on our blockchain, or if they can. But now there's splits, which is amazing. So now we can split and decide on splits. And we have a spatial Spatial IO project that we have launching. We also have a museum in Decentraland, and that museum is to show like different public art pieces that exist in Canada. And people often ask, why public art? And so I just want to give you the quick stats. In Canada, there are only 20 monuments of people of African descent across Canada. This might sound like a big number, but in Queen's Park alone, in Toronto, there's over 30 monuments dedicated to different colonial figures. And so the fact that there's only 20 monuments across Canada is a ridiculously low number. Out of that 20, most of those are repeats of the same people. So there are 3 statues of Toussaint Louverture, and Toussaint Louverture is a Haitian revolutionary who has no connection to Canada. There are 3 statues of Harriet Tubman, and also she's not Canadian. So there's a lot of these repeat statues of people who are not Canadian and does not tell the Canadian story, only a part of it. And so being the person who created Toronto's first monument of a person of African descent, which is of Joshua Glover, one of the things I realized in my contract was the city wanted to own the copyright to the image. And I said, nah. I had to rearrange, because I did it digitally first before it became a physical piece. And so my argument was I own both copyrights. And so by minting it on the blockchain, it protected that copyright. So if anyone wanted to recreate it, they would have to refer back to that piece that I created. The beauty of that is in the contract that I created with the city, in 500 years from now, if the statue ever needs to be replaced or if it needs to be touched up, my descendants can have that file because it's preserved on the blockchain. So when I'm no longer here, they have the ability to replace that statue. And so I wrote the contract, or we arranged the contract so it's only they have that file because they would be the only one who can have access to my wallet. And the idea of that is I now have a digital asset that I can now transfer as you would in a will, right? As you would with a house or anything that you own.
Yeah, I mean it has value, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm really looking forward to the time that we're so tightly connected, our identities to our wallets, that if you do pass, it goes through a smart contract and automatically transfers to your kids. Like that's gonna happen. That's absolutely gonna happen.
I think you
But
gave some
giving
people
access to the
some
wallet
goosebumps in the room right now. So one thing that's really come up with everybody, and the name of this panel is the art of digital ownership. I think ownership is not only important to the legacy of the art, but I think of the artist and their own identity. Jazz, how do you protect and control your ownership with your art in this new world?
I think much like Quentin, because I dabble in public art as well, and I really kind of revolutionized digital murals. So instead of actually painting, I would create the concept, digitize it, put it on the blockchain, and then print it on vinyls and put it on and scale it to whatever wall. So for me, it was always making sure I had my copy that was mine, safe. And if any organization ever wants to duplicate it or have it exhibited, they would have to pay me to get that printed and done. So kind of the same thing of just like, to have that security of copyright of your ideas. It's really putting it on the blockchain or putting it somewhere where you have a digital receipt that I'm the creator of this. So yeah. That's what I use personally.
I know we jumped right into NFTs, and for anybody that doesn't know what NFTs is, maybe, Galen, could you describe, would you describe NFTs?
Yeah, so just like on a complete like entry level 101, NFT stands for non-fungible token, and that's on the blockchain. So if you think about what makes a token fungible and not fungible or non-fungible, if I had like 10 Bitcoin, I could trade it for any other 10 Bitcoin. It's a currency. Each Bitcoin, for all intents and purposes, even though it has a unique token ID or whatever, for all intents and purposes, each Bitcoin is worth whatever any other Bitcoin is worth. And so the difference between the tokens that are non-fungible, which we have attached to artwork, video game assets now, music, kind of whatever you want is it gives you unique ownership, and it's not fungible because I get to sell it for whatever I want. 1 Bitcoin's worth 1 Bitcoin. One of my NFTs, well, I might sell it for $500 Canadian. I might sell it for 1 Bitcoin. I might sell it for 1 Ethereum. It's not, the agreement for ownership comes from the buyer and the seller, not a globally recognized financial system.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have done that a little better. But if you wanted to make an NFT, for instance, a piece of art, you could go on OpenSea. I'm not sure how everyone's minting their artwork, but if you wanted to solidify that ownership and put it on the blockchain, just Google, how do I make an NFT? It's very accessible. It's getting a lot easier. We can demystify it for you here, but just go into one of the major recommendations, OpenSea, Magic Eden, whatever, and just try to mint an NFT. And that will give you ownership in perpetuity until you decide to sell it or pass that ownership on to somebody else. And it's a great way, like we're talking about now, to protect your copyright, your intellectual property.
Yeah. Does anybody own any NFTs in the room?
We got one.
Do you want to share? No. I have like 2, to be honest. I'm like nothing. I was so hesitant about getting into the space when I first heard about it and had to do my own research, DYOR, as they say. We're talking a lot about what is understood as Web3 by us, right? How would you describe Web3? I want to start with Kush and we'll go down. If you could give me a definition of Web3 in terms of how you're interacting with it or what it means to you.
I'm going to say that Web3 is an opportunity to develop your business and streamline it and cut out unnecessary middlemen in the process, like you're seeing in Web 2. I'm not saying Web 2, I'm just saying traditional business processes. And so it gives you a bit stronger play on your ownership. It gives you an opportunity to kind of branch out and build your brand in new ways and look at new ways to fund your business.
Quentin, what is Web3?
I just want to jump back real quick to
Okay.
NFT. One of the things that trips people up is the word non-fungible. And so I just want to add to the definition that non-fungible means something that's unique. So something that's fungible is something that's not unique. Like if I give you $1, that is not unique. That dollar is not unique because you can get another dollar somewhere else, and it's exactly the same, in value.
Thank you. I needed that. I was going on a little tangent there. It's been a while since I've done a 101. I should be on that, like 2-3 sentences, bam. But yes, unique.
So it becoming a token means that it now exists in a special place, right? Like if you get a token for transit, you can only use that token for transit. And so as a token, it can only then now exist in the blockchain where you're using it, right? So that's where the connection happens, non-fungible token, right? But there are non-fungible things that you can buy, like if you buy concert tickets, for example, like if you get front row seats, that is a non-fungible. No one else has that seat in that stadium. Like, that's unique, right? But now it's not a non-fungible token because that concert seat is specific for that space, right? That physical space, right? It's not a token as in terms of being in the digital space. But you can now have non-fungible concerts, right? Like you can have, I've been to actually a few concerts in the digital space. And so in terms of Web3, I think about the unique user experience, right? The user-to-user experience and how it can be tailored specifically to you. Like if I go on a website right now in terms of Web 2, everyone's having the same experience with that website. But now in Web 3, that website might be completely different according to the things that I'm into. And even like the advertisements, right? Like it's more, maybe I can control the advertisements that I see. So I think Web 3 is moving into a space where it's really personalized and it's really it's really about community in a lot of ways, and so that's what makes it exciting.
Can I add on to that and say that there is something called the NFT Bible? It's provided by OpenSea. So if you Google NFT Bible, it's a great place to start. Looking at terminology and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they have a great kind of 101 that pretty much just step by step drags you right through the process. It's great.
Jasmine, in a sentence, what is Web3 to you?
Web3, I look at Web3 like a galaxy space. Like if you're in space, just floating, you can just create your own planet and then people just come visit and be like, wow, this is what you made? And then they just go back to Earth and just chill out. That's how I how I see Web3, where you have the ability to create your own universe, your own currency, your own flow of income, and people get to see value in it, add to it, barter, exchange funds in it. And for me, like venturing into augmented reality, virtual reality, where people can enter portals like in the natural realm, and then through their phone, they're transported to my world that I created, and they can win stuff, they can get free stuff in this virtual world. So for me, I think it's a blending of two, but kind of like the world is your oyster kind of thing.
Very cool. So as you can see, 4 people with similar ideas, but Web3 I think is a very transient thing right now. Everyone's sort of defining it, using it, trying to feel it out like a nice baseball glove. We're just working it in. For me personally, I would look at Web3 as the evolution of the internet. So Web 1, we'll call it Web 1, was reading. There is a website, it has information, you can consume it. Web 2 was social media. Now I'm contributing to those websites. I'm posting on them, I'm reading. Web 3, to Quentin's point, is that ownership, right? Now, when I go to that website, my wallet is tied to that website. I can connect it with my MetaMask or whatever wallet system you'd be using, and now it's customized to your experience, right? Now it's whatever's in your wallet. You can P2P share. You can peer-to-peer. You can be sharing with each other.
Just to add to that,
Please.
in Web 2, this phenomenon came where we got to use these amazing websites that are called social media, and we didn't have to pay for them with money, but we did have to pay with our data, and we made them so much money by offering our data, signing that little I agree to the terms and services to use Facebook, and they'd use all of us to sell ads on their platform, and now they're worth billions of dollars. In Web3, you have more control over your data, what you sell, what happens to anything in your wallet. You literally have to sign every single time an online signature on the blockchain, and it changes everything. You see browsers like Brave come out where you actually get cryptocurrency for clicking on ads. They share their ad revenue with you, and that's an agreement that they wouldn't be able to do. Okay, Web3 browser, where we don't, where we still steal your data. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. Web3 is different. People care about these things. This is the new time. Web3 to me is about taking control back of your finance, taking control of your data, ownership over if you own an NFT in a video game that is a sword, if you own it in Fortnite, Fortnite owns or whatever the gaming company is, owns that. When you own it in a Web3 game, you own it. It's an NFT. I can take it off the platform. I can do whatever I want with it. I can sell it on OpenSea if I wanted to. So yeah, that ownership and that taking control back from the corporations, that's Web3 to me.
Though that's a nice addition, because it is true. It's not an antagonist point of view, I wouldn't say. Like, corporations aren't trying to be malicious, but through their actions, they are.
Yeah,
There are some
it's just how they did business, right? And now we get to change that.
I love that. So we've talked about our perspectives as artists creating. I would love to understand, how are your communities engaging? Like, I've spoken to a bunch of artists that either live in the metaverse or choose not to at all, and everybody sort of has an opinion around, is it a bubble? Is it real? What is it? But I would love to understand, like, how are your communities engaging with your artwork in a digital way? How are your communities demanding things of you as an artist in a digital way? If anyone wants to take that, because I think it's nice to talk about how we feel, right? I think it's important, and this needs to live here. But what's the demand? How is the market, and how is everybody reacting to this new world?
I mean, I can jump in. I think because people trust me, they trust it. But everyone's nervous. Everyone's nervous, but they're excited. Because everyone knows everything's going digital. And the thing I sell everyone on is like, look at Marvel. With where Marvel is right now, there'll be nowhere close to that without CGI. I always speak about, one of my people who I look up to is, George Lucas. And from very early in the stage, he's like, yeah, the future is going to be CGI. And he's like, everything's going to move into that space. And he actually uses the term non-fungible in terms of the work that he was creating for Star Wars and that Star Wars universe. And if you don't know, George Lucas created a company called ILM, and ILM gave birth to Pixar. And as everything that you see coming out of Marvel comes out of ILM, essentially. Right, which is why people are confused. Like, why did Star Wars go to Disney? And it's like, oh yeah, like Star Wars pretty much like built that department of Disney. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, like the digital revolution is like still in its infancy, and we should be a part of it. And so everyone's kind of excited when they look at it from that standpoint, because they're like, what's your favorite superhero movie? And like, no one's talking about the movies from the 70s, But if you do, it might be Star Wars. It might be 2001 Odyssey. It might be one of these sci-fi things. So the fact that we can add to the sci-fi mythos and pantheon and allow people to enjoy it for many years from now, a lot of people are excited about that. And then having that agency and that ownership, people are excited about that. So the things that they get, they're excited about. The things that they don't get in terms of the tech, they're like, we're going to look to you for that. So, yeah.
I like how you brought up sci-fi, because even 30, 40 years ago, Star Trek with what we call iPads now, right? Everything was premonition. It was sort of spoken ahead of time, and people either said, "Oh, I don't know about that," or "Whoa, that is so crazy and cool. Like that could never happen in my life." Is that what we're experiencing right now? People in this space, like sort of on that either side of that?
I mean, I'll say so, but also I think. I think the tug and pull for a lot of young folks and older folks, like when I say young, not like kids, I think kids get it. I think like teenagers and young adults and then older, it's the fight between the old guard, which is like how industries used to work, and then where things are going, where we kind of like, it's the wild, wild west. Like, like we don't like the idea that someone can have a career as a social media strategist is like unheard of. Like people who are making like $80,000 as a salary just to post things on social media, that's unheard of. But then to know that there's someone else who's making more money just creating the content is also crazy. So then it's like the potential of earning and making a living just doing the things you love is pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're talking about metaverse right now.
Yeah, from the public perspective.
From the public perspective, yeah. I think it's not. I mean, unless I've talked to a lot of artists, they've got their traditional supporters and fans, and then when they get into NFTs and their music NFTs, they tend to actually have a completely separate group that they find that are just kind of Web3 knowledgeable already, and that want NFTs and want these things. And there's a little bit of crossover, but so. We have a lot of people who are already excited and already knowledgeable, kind of that want to interact with that want to go into your spatial.io. They want to see you in Decentraland. But I think in general, the metaverse hasn't really kind of like hit that sweet spot yet where it becomes easier, when it becomes easier to go into the metaverse, whatever metaverse that is, whatever fake digital world you want to go into, when it becomes easier to enjoy yourself in there than it does at home, or it becomes more enticing to go in there than it does to go out, I think we're going to see, and I think we will see that. I think we're going to see a lot more of people interacting in that world.
Can I just quickly add to that? I think, yeah, as you mentioned, it's a utility, right? Like, not everyone understands, like, why would you want to have to pay for a JPEG or pay for a digital asset, like, you know? And then when I say, hey, have you heard of something called screen industries? They're like, what's that? I'm like, anything that has a screen, that's an industry. And what you're paying for is something unique to your screen. They're like, oh, so I'm like, that could be a wallpaper, that could be something on your phone, that could be et cetera, and you are the only person that have it. They're like, oh, that's actually. So it's like, I think that becoming more accessible of how people can utilize and have access to it, as that grows, it's gonna inevitably bloom.
Yeah, I would definitely add on this, so the understanding. I think we were seeing, maybe with the Facebook changing the meta, we were thinking, okay, maybe there's going to be some adoption of additional wallets. But right now, I'd say the wallet count is low with the amount of people in the world. So there has to be something that happens where it kind of shifts mass people to kind of want to do that. And I think it'll be coming through the digital twinning, like how we see brand names that we know and trust, like Nike, Puma, all this kind of say, yeah, I can put a shoe out, I can give it to you as a digital, you can wear it on your avatar, but I'll also give it to you, I'll send it to you in the mail. People will be, oh, what? Yeah, so I think once we see bigger companies coming in and ushering in that kind of change, I think then we'll see people kind of want to follow. I think we're all kind of the early adopters and pioneers here. So
100%. It's crazy. You mentioned digital twin. If for anyone that doesn't know what a digital twin is, it's the equivalency of having something in the metaverse and in real life, and sort of being a replica. This is a great use case, I would say. I read a really cool, not a story, but a use case of an airport, I believe in Asia, that created a digital twin of their airport to see how the flow of traffic happens inside, and they simulated everything virtually to then make changes in the physical space.
absolutely.
Right? So there's this ability to test in this digital space and try things that might be resource intensive in the real world or just not able to do. Is there anything you guys wanted to add about digital twins in your work or what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, so going back to the fact that I'm a community guy, I don't want to say leader because we're all
builder.
In our
Let's say community builder.
Builder, yeah, we're in our community. We're all equal, and I need them as much as they need me. But we do have these really cool companies. We're in a builder's market right now. And so a lot of really cool companies are coming out of our community. And based on that digital twin thing, we've got a company called Charmy Worlds. Shout out to Nav. He also runs blockchainevents.ca, where you can basically, he's making mini metaverses that you can stick on your website, like Galen.com/CharmyWorld or whatever. And you can go in, create an avatar, just like in Spatial, really quickly, and go to every company's or every community's custom little metaverse and have your digital twin there. And that interoperability of your assets, like if it has a 3D file, an OBJ file, you can go in and wear your shoes in their metaverse, which is attached to your website. So that's like a great thing. We also have a company called Metaverse Architects. This is a group of architects who are building exclusively in the metaverse right now. So, even though we're early, these guys are making money. They're building JP Morgan's Decentraland thing and putting art up. Like our community NFTs have been on the wall in major branded websites. These guys were real architects from Tel Aviv, moved to Toronto, and quit making real buildings, and now they exclusively build in the metaverse. So if, it seems early, but this shit is real. It's just like, what? There's an architect that just makes digital buildings? Like that 2 years ago, I would have been like, nah, not gonna happen. And here we are.
And those buildings are being put on plots of land that are digital as well, that are that are being purchased. So yeah. To
kind of bring us back to the beginning of the conversation about acknowledging the land that we're on. What land do you acknowledge in the metaverse?
Good question.
Who has the first rights to that land? Or
That's a good question.
Snoop Dogg. Always Snoop Dogg. Yeah. If I bought it, probably Snoop Dogg owned it at one point. Yeah.
That's actually a good question because in what's that site called? Is it Super World? No,
Sandbox or Decentraland or
no, the one where you can buy property. I forgot what it's called right now.
Upland? That's another one. There
No,
are
there's
there are a
another
few.
one.
There are a
Yeah,
few.
but anyways, basically, I just had a moment where I was like, I want to buy my block, and then like I ended up buying like all of Rexdale. I tried to like bid to buy the airport, and then I bought like Jane and Finch, and I was like, it should be black owned. So I was like, start buying up stuff.
Yo, I'm gonna come back and buy my. I want to buy my house, my block off you in Rexdale, where I grew up.
But then yeah, someone actually like sent me an offer for the neighborhood, and I was like, no, I'm not selling my neighborhood, like So
That's a huge sellout. If you sell your own neighborhood, that's you. Now you've sold out.
But then yeah, I was thinking about like, yeah, okay, well, I'm here I am buying these digital spaces to create like digital architectures on them. But then it's like, how do we actually honor indigenous voices, right, and indigeneity as well in the real world? And so that's a question I've been battling with myself, and trying to figure out like, what does that mean?
Do you think there's going to be people sort of like when the internet came out, people just buying domains?
Yes.
And
That's
like,
already happened. That's already happened.
Sony.com, I'm buying it before they do, and I'm selling it to them.
I can't even afford. Just like it's happened.
Yeah,
It's-
that happened with the ENS names. Everyone bought the unstoppable domains and tried to buy up all the domains. They had to stop at one point. You couldn't buy like Nike.com or something like that, or Nike.crypto or something like that. So yeah, and that was a craze for a little while. People buying domain names and looking to sell the Web3 domain names. Kind of died off because if you don't buy it, you have to maintain the cost of it, right? So yeah.
The domain names, and it happened with Metaverse Land, like the two big Decentraland and Sandbox. That's where I got the Snoop Dogg probably owns it because he owns like the biggest plot of land I've ever seen in the metaverse. But yeah, it was like a fire sale at one point. Everyone was going crazy.
Like the bull market, maybe a few years ago.
Bull market, ENS names, Metaverse Land in the popular metaverses. Now it's expensive.
I see things kind of trending, like it started kind of there, and then it kind of went to the whole degen flipping and all that kind of thing.
What's a degen?
It's a degen. Well, I'm going to term a degen as someone who's in the space to make quick flips, make money. They're not really holding anything. They're just there to purchase the art, sell the art, make a flip, and keep it moving.
I would add, and they're also there to make bad decisions.
Very emotional bad
Like,
decisions.
They're trying to make money, but it doesn't mean that most degens don't make money. For instance, like as an NFT investor, I don't know. I'm in it to lose money. I buy it the wrong time. I never sell it. I'm a degen, but I'm not making any money.
I think that's one of the characteristics of a degen. Is not making money.
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit that I started off as one. I was like, "Ooh, this looks nice. I'm gonna sell it later." But then I started to invest in the actual artists themselves and started to get to know them. And then as we were building up our Decentraland Museum, I was like, okay, well, actually, I want to like exhibit these works, So why would I sell them? So I started messaging the artists to see how they feel about it, because like, yeah, I own it, but like I still believe in ethics, and I still think they should have a say in what I do with the work in a certain extent. But I do want to go back to the twinning, the digital twinning. I never really use that term, but I mean that is what it is in terms of what I do as making digital sculptures and then turning them into physical sculptures. And one of the powerful things about it is like when you work in public art, you have to create a maquette. No matter what, you have to create some type of maquette to present your work, right? And right now, the way we work is everything's digital. If you see a blueprint, very unlikely that blueprint was drawn by hand. Like nobody does that anymore. It's all digital, right? So that is a digital asset. And so, and a lot of times, those end up becoming digital twinning. Like when you go to buy a real estate, there is going to be a digital version of that house or of that building, of that place, right? So there's a lot of power in that. And I'm going to go back to George Lucas of everything that they're building right now in Star Wars, right? They use this thing called the volume. And the volume is a giant LED screen, and it's like revolutionary right now. Giant LED screen. instead of using green screens, you're using these LED screens and you're seeing these real-time environments. And so they're shooting in these things called the volume, and they're creating these digital environments that the actor would interact with. And this is revolutionary because now you're cutting out the editor, you're cutting out green screen. So for example, they had a character called the Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian, his armor is chrome. Now think about how much hours it would have taken to edit out the green screen out of the reflective material. Like in one of the old Star Wars with Darth Vader, they said they spent 100 hours trying to edit out the fake green screen out of his armor, you know? And so now like this thing is revolutionary because what if like you use the digital environment as an NFT, and now you have it in a Marvel movie or you have it in some type of superhero movie. Like the earning is just like ridiculously amazing. But also like knowing that they go through iterations of those environments. So then what happens to the first iteration? Who owns that? You know, so yeah.
You know what's crazy about what you're saying too is Web3 giving the access to everyone, like the independent film creator can now use AI tools to do a lot of what he just explained. There's one called Runway ML. If you were to check that out, you can actually do film, like a regular film, like how we're filming here, and then overlay your image right on top without the green screen or anything, and it maps the images of the main character that you're filming. So there's just so much advancements. It's crazy, and things are going so quickly.
I think we've sort of blurred the line here between, generative or AI, right? And what NFTs can be and the ownership side of things. And they often collide, right? We're in these situations now. I wanted to talk about musicians a little bit. I think we've talked about visual arts, and not to exclude anybody, because I do want to understand it from a push and pull. So as a musician, maybe Kush, you could talk about some of your work in the Web3 music.
Yeah, so the reason why I started to get into Web3 music, obviously, you probably heard, like with artists, is the lack of streaming revenue. And so looking at how can we do direct sales to actually earn from our IP. So that's where the Web3 came in. I can sell direct to people in a sense where it's direct to them. It's a barter one-to-one, which is what kind of was explained earlier. And there's also a gap with the ownership. If you don't do all the necessary steps to protect your work, someone can just come and take the work in Web3 kind of thing. So you gotta do all the necessary steps to still protect your work. So if I were to give you a process, I make a song, I register the song with all the necessary bodies of Web2, but I still have to go through and do a copyright and trademark. Some people neglect to do that. And so, now we're coming up into the Web3 space, you gotta make sure you do all of those steps to protect your work. And I sent you a site there too, which is SoundSecure, which is actually doing copyright on chain. You can get the link from us later. If you go through this link, you get 30% off. But this is a way how to use copyright, put it on chain, and so you have a actual copyright that you can hold up in court. So I would do this, put on blockchain, and you can also go through we have a Canadian government where you can do your copyright at the gov site. So I'll probably do both. You can also trademark the government side as well. They're going to be having trademark coming in. This is in the future as well. Right now this is for music, but they'll be opening it up to film as well. And that kind
it's
of
crazy because if you're a musician now and you want your music played on radio or traditional, there's a lot of reporting involved, right? ISRC codes and different things that attribute your music, so you get paid out. Is there similar systems, do you guys know, being built out in music for Web3?
So you have to do SoundSecure, and that will capture if it's going through the web. So this is streaming to the web. But there isn't really a way to register the NFT per se. So there is some sites like Emanate, which is kind of a good one to look at, starting to track your sales through and track who's playing it and that kind of thing. But it's still something I think is in the development as far as I know.
We are seeing, so there are some great places and great ways to sell your music as NFTs to build that new audience. But just being someone with my ear to the ground, there are some really cool NFT or Web3 streaming platforms coming out in music right now. One called Helios, run by one of our community members, fully funded. It's kind of like Instagram meets Spotify. They have an comparable catalog to Spotify, like almost Spotify's whole catalog, but with a focus on artists going in, minting their songs as NFTs, and then sharing them like social media. So the benefit of this is that streaming, I think Spotify is like what, 0.00 cents or something, 0.007 cents or something like that per stream or per 1,000 streams. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, per million.
Yeah. In the Web3 ethos, we see a focus more on giving back to the actual creators and the owners of that art. And so these companies that are coming out, we don't know which one's going to rise to the top, but they are giving way more. I think Helios gives 90% of the money that comes in back to the artist. So yeah, there's all sorts of, you don't have to quote me on that, but there's all sorts of really cool things like almost coming out, and which one of those are going to be popular, I'm excited to see.
Even Spotify now, they have NFT gating.
Yes.
Right? So if you have an NFT in your wallet and you go to Spotify, you're able to access exclusive content. I think that's incredible that Spotify is doing those sort of integrations.
I would love to speak on that because I work on the opposite side. So it's really finding ways that artists can actually take their NFTs, put it in real life events, experiences that are custom, whether to their album release or whatever. And even now we're working on developing where the NFTs are actually can be developed into artwork like we see on the wall that can be touched and can be animated to play music on the spot. So I work on the other side of like, how do we, use NFTs, but how do we create more streams of income for music artists that are in person that people can relate to them? So
I think Emanate also has a streaming aspect to them as well. And I know there's some people trying to build streaming on Bitcoin, for example, because the whole ordinal movement that was happening. And I think Sound XYZ is another one that's come out as well. It's
so good. I love that website.
Okay.
If you're an artist and you want to release an NFT, a great website to check out is sound.xyz. It's like SoundCloud, but by owning the NFT, the way you interact with that SoundCloud is totally unique. So check it out.
There's a lot of incubators happening as well. I think MasterCard has done one. They're coming out with sound accelerator. They've used 5 artists and they're working with some AI tool. They're going to use that, and it's a whole movement to start using some of those tools to be able to take out stems, royalty-free stems and things like that to put into your music, which is kind of nice. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how things develop.
It's crazy how the technology too, like with being able to dissect a song, right? You could take a Bob Marley song and pull the vocals off of it now, pull the bass line off of it. I think that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like,
I just want to, so for any artists or musicians or anybody, especially watching the re-recording, when we post this, can we share a bunch of links that artists can go to, websites that will help them out?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because we're kind of breezing through this really quickly, but everyone's been dropping great
gems.
We
are mining for something else here today. That's awesome. I wanted to open it up for some questions, but I think just sort of going full circle, even the conversation we had, Galen, when you came in and we were talking about corporations owning the data, right? And you sort of touched on it today. We were behind that trend. When I say we, I'm talking about the community, artists, audience members. We were sort of lagging behind the leadership of corporate interest. And we're in this really unique position with this digital ownership of Web3s. How do we get ahead of that? So I wanted to open the question up to you guys. In the next 1 to 2 years, what would be a recommendation for an artist to get ahead of that? Quentin, I'm starting with you. Because you're nodding and it seems like you might know. Everyone else is like, oh.
I mean, kind of going back to what Kush was saying, like still doing your necessary due diligence to register things in real life. But then also really reaching out to your community. I think the power of Web3 and the metaverse is word of mouth. And I think really leaning into your community and letting them support you, right? Like there's an idea that there's a saturation of like the market, and it's like, nah, like I don't sell my work traditionally, but I make a decent living as an artist. How do I do that? Through community. So I think everyone has a community. Everyone has family that supports them, And so really lean into that, and then that word of mouth creates a ripple effect. And so I think that's how the change will happen.
So bringing people with you. Don't go alone. Okay.
Yeah, there's an African proverb that says if you want to go far, go alone. I mean, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
What if you want to go frequently? What do you do?
Then you have the trusted people that you go with. Yeah.
You got to send people sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you got to stay back.
Yeah.
Who wants to take that? So before we open it up to questions, right? It's just around, what advice would you give to an artist that's looking to get into this Web3 or to mint their first NFT or get involved somehow? What would you recommend?
I just wanted to add to the community thing. If you're not familiar with Web3, community is literally everything. Like, there's the biggest NFT company in the world called Yuga Labs. They did the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Their community, like, it's not like the CEO. It's not like it's their community manager is like the biggest name in the business. Like, being in charge of the community is now a huge job, just like social media marketer wasn't a thing, right? So yeah, just a focus on driving community first initiatives, talking to your people. And this isn't a practical step, I'll get back to that, but I just wanted to add to that. Go join a community, and if you need a place to start, go at join NFTO. And yeah, we're always doing events, educational, music, artists, everyone's welcome, noobs, seasoned vets, everyone's welcome.
Absolutely, I was going to say, yeah, community is everything. Just seconding that, and just finding a platform where you can do that successfully. Something maybe Twitter or something like that, or a Facebook group or something where you want to start talking to your community about things before you even think about selling them anything. Like, that should be the last thing that you're thinking about.
Well said.
For me, I think it's balance. Coming from low-income community, Black, Indigenous community, it may be hard to find your community that can actually pay to support what you're doing. So I always look at balance of in real life and obviously leveraging communities that may not be your traditional community. So that could be universities, tech hubs, that could be corporations, nonprofits that have an eye for like, hey, we want to dabble into this type of thing, and go there, pitch what you're trying to do, show up. I know for me, that's how I really grew my art and getting my art out there. My community couldn't afford it. They appreciated it, but the reality was, I just came from a community that appreciated it, but they couldn't afford to collect art. So I had to go conventional routes where places had the money to amplify what I did, but it allowed me to actually fund skills workshops back to my community to educate them on technology and different things of that nature. So I would say balance and really going unconventional routes to still get to the same conclusion. So yeah.
I would like to just say, first of all, that's 100% true. If you can access different revenue streams, like, let's not pretend that it's not hard to get money as an artist, visual artists, musicians, like, it's not easy. So if you can get outside of even your community or traditional revenue streams, yes, absolutely. Target those other communities, right? Some of the practical things you can do just to get started: go on YouTube. How can I make money from my music NFTs? Where can I sell my art? NFT, Web3, whatever. Just start watching those practical videos, and then just get started. The way to get started is to just get flipping started. Go out and try something. Google it.
Yeah, I'm going to add to his, after you do the Google search, go to ChatGPT and ask all the same questions.
Say.
How can I use ChatGPT to make more money in music?
I just want to say one thing you mentioned is if we can get in front of the corporations. I think we kind of already are. I've been in rooms where corporations come in and they're asking, how do we do this? How do I get this done? And then on the other end, this is this is happening like on a social app called Clubhouse. People come in there and asking these questions. So I see people doing pitches to corporations, getting gigs for corporations to build, design things. So I think for the early people, they're the ones that corporations are turning to.
And I'll add one more advice, practical advice. I didn't employ it, but now that I have Astro Sankofa, we're doing that now. We are very blessed to live in a country that has a lot of grants, tons of grants. There's corporate grants, there's government grants. So tapping into those, you can get micro grants for $500 to $1,000, and a way to fund the research process or the exploration process with no real expectations of an end result that might result in whatever you do in some big exhibition. Like, it can just be you exploring and keep exploring. Like, there's no limit to how many grants one can get in their lifetime, right? You can keep applying for different grants.
Are you noticing that the funding and the grantors are receptive to digital creations?
Well, yeah, because they realize that's where everything is heading. It's all like, depending on who you're applying to, a lot of it does have to have a community incentive, but they are embracing it right now. Yeah.
I would say also, as a point to do, is register your company and make sure all your taxes are straight so you can get these grants.
One more, and then we'll. I know we want
Sure,
to get to the
I've got a
audience,
couple of questions here.
but join somebody else's community. If I jump into your community and see what you're doing and see how your community is responding, I'm going to learn about how to market my music in Web3 or my art or whatever. That's how a lot of us got into it. We bought a little NFT, we went into the Discord, and we saw the strength of that community and how the community was interacting with the artists, et cetera. So join another person's community and you'll learn a lot real quick.
I'm surprised we talked about community, but nobody mentioned Discord. Do you guys use Discord?
I just
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
Did you?
I just said it like quickly.
Oh,
yeah.
you just said it, so
Jump
I didn't say it.
jump into somebody's Discord. Yeah.
So what is Discord and why is it different
I
than
mean,
like
I don't
a Facebook or
I don't
Twitter?
even like Discord, to be honest. But it's where we meet. It's where we meet in Web3. If you buy an NFT, you don't even have to buy an NFT to get into someone's to an NFT's community Discord. You can just go in there without buying one and then just kind of interact. Usually, once you're in there, there might be a few rooms that are blocked off unless you own the NFT. But yeah, Discord, it's just a chatting kind of community organizing platform. Started out mostly in video games, and now Web3 just kind of took it over.
So just to give a little bit more context, because pretty much the entire NFT thing is stolen from video game people, just to let you all know.
Yep.
So Discord is, just to be clear, it is meant for gamers to be able to exchange on that platform, exchange privately in a secured way. And
Which is
it
like a
has-
group chat. We're gonna play at 8 p.m.
Well,
or
you-
we're doing this.
It's more than that. It's a way to file share within the closed circuit. And then you can create sub servers in there and then exchange data and exchange files. And then keep them encrypted so no one else can steal them, essentially. You can also know who downloads your files, et cetera, who has access and stuff like that. So it's a whole ecosystem that is meant to be in. So NFT people came along and was like, hey, this is a great way to build community, because people been building community on this space. I'm only mentioning that because I was a part of Ubisoft for a bit, and their server is crazy. Their channel, sorry, and then the sub servers. So you have a channel, and a company might have multiple channels for different things that they do. So for example, it might be like the game concept designers, then it might be the actual 3D modelers, then it might be, but there's a way to then create sub channels and then have servers within those channels that have specific aspects to the different elements within the main task. And then you can set calendar task, and everything is in sync, and have a pool of where files are going, and a way to really create an organized way to operate for some things that might be very complex. So I've seen NFT spaces and Web3 spaces really become really complex, and I'm loving it because it's really reflecting on the things that we're trying to do in real life. But it's nowhere closer.
This guy likes Discord.
One out of 4 ain't bad.
It's cool. I mean, there's Slack.
It is good.
There's Slack. There's a lot of people now are using what's it called again? Stuff with a T.
Threads?
Telegram. And Threads. But just to be clear, Discord was originally like the gamers world. Like that was a secret.
That's one of my
secret layer.
my Web3 identity is actually my video game name from when I was in high school. Like, because it just, everyone was like, I went into Discord, bought my first NFT, went into Discord, and now everybody just calls me Rusty. I'm like, okay.
It could be worse.
And just
It's
explain,
short for
because
Rusty Bone, so it is worse.
Just explain, because outside of like, because if you send stuff through like WeTransfer or you send stuff through like SendSpace, they are tracking what you're sending. So if you're sending like files that you don't want anyone else to have for a specific game, if you send them through email as well, like Google will know that you sent X, Y, and sometimes they might convert the things that you send, right? Because you're sending like sometimes coded, because like video games have codes, right? So sometimes you might be sending coded things in docs, in like a dot text, or whatever. I don't want to go through the different file formats, but they might convert them and they might end up getting screwed up, whatever, right? And sometimes like if you compress it, it might be an issue. So anyways, Discord allows for that fluidity.
So we have conversations with crypto newbies, people that don't own anything. So I got $50 in my hand. How do I get an NFT with this? Maybe Jasmine, you could walk through that onboarding or on-ramping. Like a regular person wants to go and support you, wants to buy your NFT collection. How would they do that?
Well, I think before it was a little confusing. I think now with like platforms like OpenSea and I think even Coinbase and different places that offer where you can buy crypto, they've now made an NFT version to their sites where all you have to do is sign up, find the name of the person's artwork you want to purchase, and then you actually have to upload crypto. So you need to turn fiat into the cryptocurrencies, whether I'm selling my artwork in Ethereum or Bitcoin, you would have to convert your Canadian or whatever into that currency. And then, purchase the art. I know.
So how would somebody go about converting? Like,
yeah.
How would you, your own?
Oh, yeah. Well, like with OpenSea and a lot of these ones, it's literally like your credit card or sometimes your debit card or your bank account. If you already have, say, a crypto wallet, you can transfer your crypto to OpenSea or use your wallet address. So if you're not familiar with those type of things, it can be super challenging to figure out, okay, how do I just buy it? And that's why for me, like I created TheHiredd to show, especially young Black and Indigenous people, how to navigate the space. How do I make money, but also how do I support people when all I'm accustomed to is the traditional way of buying art, of going into like a art gallery and just feeling, all right, I'll just buy that. So and I think even the process of minting and then paying and all that kind of stuff, I think it's still a little bit complicated for people, I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like the more like even us in our respective spaces can educate people on how to support us, I think it'll make it a bit easier. Yeah.
Kush, you mentioned there's not enough wallets, or like representative of the population. We're just not at critical mass. How would you describe on-ramping for someone? What would you recommend to a newbie?
Well, I would have my stuff on OpenSea and tell them that they could use the fiat cash, and then I'd tell them how to get the wallet after. Another way, I would tell them they could open up a wallet and they could fund their wallet through MoonPay, so they don't have to go through the whole.
What do you mean fund your wallet?
So when I say fund my wallet, it means you're putting money from our traditional fiat system, cash system, and converting that into a cryptocurrency. You can do that through something called MoonPay, which is a quick way to convert your money. The other way, the third way, is going to an exchange, which means you have to go through KYC, which is know your customer, and that can take up to a couple of weeks for you to get verified.
It's a lot faster now. It's
Oh,
like,
is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like it's like hours to a day.
Oh, okay,
now,
perfect.
yeah.
Because it shows how long ago I did it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I did it. My KYC process was like, I want to buy this token right now, and I'm waiting a week. But now it's a lot faster now.
Okay,
And
good.
you're talking about looking at charts and like putting buy orders. It's like
No. I'm just talking about. It's a way to exchange your money. So it's a crypto exchange, something like Kraken, for example, or Coinbase, like was mentioned earlier. You can go there, sign up. You give them all your ID and everything, like you're interfacing like with a bank. And that way, yes, you can see charts, but it's more importantly for you to convert your money so that you can actually enter the crypto space. And then, yes, you can invest in different cryptos from the exchange versus just buying that one piece of IP through the other two ways I mentioned. So being on the exchange opens you up to the whole realm of NFTs, or sorry, cryptocurrencies, and then from there you can go into the NFT.
I would definitely go to YouTube, because go to YouTube and type in "how do I buy cryptocurrency," and check out some of those 101 videos, because you're gonna everything that both of you have said is correct, but you're gonna need to see the steps, and it is easier when you're watching those videos.
And you need to get clearance from your bank in Canada. Make sure that you tell them that, maybe, should I say this?
No, you don't want to tell them that you're going crypto.
No. You tell them that you're doing an international transaction, and then it will reduce the flags that they make.
not in writing, not guaranteed. This is a
You can just cut this
speculative
part out.
market.
But I will say there are crypto wallets that you can then put fiat. You can convert fiat directly into as well. So I think it all depends on the community that you're supporting and the platform that you're using. Like Marketplace, you can use your credit card directly. Yeah.
I have to say the banks are getting better though. Yeah, they at one point you had to actually go into the bank and talk to them and everything. Now you can actually do it. It might be a smaller amount, but you can do it directly through e-transfers. So it makes it a lot easier. They're getting open to it because they know, like someone said earlier, it's not going anywhere. The banks are talking about their own centralized currencies, cryptocurrencies. So yeah.
Because in the spirit of this event, we actually minted an NFT for everybody here today. This might be
nice.
your gateway drug into a new world. We're not responsible for any changes that may happen in your life, good or bad. No, but in all seriousness, this is an artwork that's just something called a proof of attendance protocol. Every crypto operates on a different protocol. So this is something that we created for Meta Arts, specifically for today. We're going to throw up we got, boom. So everybody here can scan this code on your phones, and you're going to collect a free NFT. There's only 50 of these that are being minted. So obviously everybody in the room today gets one. We might give one or two to some sponsors if they're nice. But this is going to get you onboarded with your first, potentially, NFT. Well, with that being said, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming today. I wanted to shout out all of our sponsors for Meta Festival. This wouldn't be possible without the support of Factor, Ontario Trillium, and I'm missing one. City of Brampton, of course, where we are. And our community partners, Brampton Library, the Brampton Arts Organization, and of course 40 Ounce Heroes. I represent 40 Ounce Heroes. It's a brand that we started 10 years ago in Toronto to showcase and spotlight hip-hop artists specifically. So we specialize in the competitive arts, whether it be rap or music, dance, as well as visual arts. So the connections here on the panel are from different organizations. I also have to shout out Blockchain Futurist for connecting us to Galen, and Web3 Warriors for bringing us Kush. Shout out Chrome. Quentin, I've known you since Manifesto days, seeing some of your artwork, and it's a pleasure to have you. And Jasmine, to have your art showcased yesterday in the festival and to have you here really means a lot. So if everyone could just give a hand to our panelists. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.